Okay, right, so this is part 2, and I'm working on, this image is called Henosis. Mostly in the part 1 video, I've just been going, really vocalising what this image and why I'm generating it. And so if you're interested, I'm not going to reiterate that and bore the people that have just sat through video 1. If you're interested in that, there's, some pretty, I think I did a reasonably good job of explaining why this image has occurred. It's from earlier this year. It's 25 portraits of the same person, compounded into one image, and it's a sort of predecessor to a much larger project that is as yet untitled, that I'm working on and have been now for over a year. Obviously this is a git clay print, and I'm embellishing it by hand and hoping I can bring out some, I don't know, just change it. I'm sort of seeing it as a sketchbook project. That's how it sort of feels to me. It's quite bittersweet because you end up going like a dip of departures in Wonderland, just as like, is that actually better than the original? I don't know whether I'm happy about that being like that. Which makes me ask some funny questions about, right, well, why is that? Why do I think that? And I haven't really settled on an answer yet about that. I'm hoping to keep my right shoulder out of the process as much as possible for you. And at the moment, what I'm sort of doing is, well, you can see, I'm going to push the background back a bit. But I want to retain some of the just purely at the moment out of sentimental reasons. There's so much work went into doing these squares. The thing is, when I do them, this is the case, but they aren't just painted once. They're pretty much, usually nearly all of those squares will have been painted twice. I go back over them because it's never enough, but you're better off doing too little and that being enough if you need to leave it like that, rather than too much all at once. So it just doubles the time capacity. And then I go back over them with pens, and they're all drawn back over. You wouldn't believe how much lighter it was. I had to do a lot of work to set that time. An awful lot of work to get them to go that dark. And so I don't really want to, I don't want to eradicate them completely from the image. And they're an important part of it. There is a reason that, and I've gone into it in the previous video in part 1, and I want, the square is the continuity. Like, that square has continuity across these portraits as well as the background, and that's important to me. I want that to be maintained. As I was saying before, it's an allusion to it being programmatic. It implies control, that you can control that exterior void, no matter how dark it gets. You just got to get into the details on it. But at the same time, I want this to come out a bit more. So, golden rule, as I've said in previous videos, is stabilise the background and then go from there. But I can envisage, just like the one with Departures in Wonderland yesterday, this is going to take some time, this is. So it'll probably be another 4-part. And I'm not going to keep on, I said this in the previous part, I'm not going to keep on doing the videos. You can see, you know, I've done a few of them now. You can see the work that's involved there. It doesn't mean that I won't keep on doing these, because I think these are, the next one that I will do is very concurrent with this itself as an image, Henosis. It's the central 5 portraits across there, and I've completely gridded off a piece of A1 watercolour paper and painted the original onto it. 3,456 centimetre squares. And that's before you start considering how those squares interact with the frame drawing, wireframe drawing that is the focus of the artwork, sort of thing. So it's, you know, it's probably ballpark. I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 6,000 little sections that I have to go over, which is why it's taken over 3 weeks now. But there's been other things that I've been working on in the sort of background. I've got some other interesting projects on the go now that I wish I had another pair of hands, frankly. So, try to remember that as I get near to the boundaries to use, to run with the squares when I shade it rather than my usual angled hatch shading. There's definitely an allusion to iconography going on in there, which is completely unintentional. And I don't really know what I mean by that, but there's something very, you can feel that central portrait radiating outwards. It's not like they're all falling in on it. I don't get that. It's not the impression that I get from it. It's not a very overwhelming picture. Yet in terms of the detail content, it is. But somehow for me, I don't know, maybe it's, you know, I could be being biased because I'm the creator of it, but that's entirely plausible. But to me, it doesn't feel like an all-encompassing image. It's something that's, I don't find it a particularly threatening image to look at, but there are definitely, it's heavy contrast context, isn't there? I mean, I can see almost reptilian features within portraits, especially in this one. The way that the lines are created, contours upon the portrait there. I know what the portrait is there, but it's not that easily discernible. So that portrait in there and those eyes are hanging off of these marks down here that show how these portraits are receding off into the background. That leads into the eyes. With both, as you can see, lower and upper, or parallel to them. But like I was saying, they're interesting. They're interesting sketchbook projects. Probably worth doing. I might even look at getting a sketchbook made up of these images, so you can buy a book of them. was also simultaneously, why didn't I do this? Because for me it's not really, I mean it's nice reworking them, don't get me wrong, but they're sort of, they're done. Like, especially with this one, this is a prototype piece. This is very much, I'm not even halfway through this project. So it's just, yeah, it's purely just to see if it runs on the basic that I want it to run on. I didn't even intend it as a, it succeeded really well as a finished polished image. It works and presses a lot of buttons, but it wasn't the intention. I was trying to find something out with it, and it's not really a word game. I can't give you a sequence of paragraphs and sentences that is going to summarise that for you any more than I could do for myself. I had to spend 3 or 4 months working it out on a page of A1 watercolour paper, and yeah, which is why a picture paints more than 1,000 words. Yeah, so do the promotional bit while I'm halfway through here, I think. What time are we on here? Yeah, about halfway through the second part. Yeah, so there's again, like the others that I've been doing, if you've been watching the series so far this week, they're £100 each, which frankly I think it's a bargain. But you could dispute that. It ain't going to make me change the price, I'm afraid. You want one, that's what they cost. And I wouldn't dispute it while you're buying it off me. I joke. I think what you'll get that you might not get with other artists that do embellished prints is that these are, especially this one, this is concurrent to, it is literally like working on a sketchbook. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, there isn't a lot of, not that I know of, in terms of, it's not like printing's new, is it? There's not a lot of evidence of artists there is, obviously they go back in and work in their prints, but using prints as a sketchbook. So I'm going to say something here. It's a ground sweeping statement, and obviously there's going to be contradictions that hold water against it. But I've had some experiences with the printmaking community that make me go, ooh, right. It's very rules based, like what they perceive as a print. There's a lot of this technique that I've developed has a lot of crossover with printmaking. It's got a lot of its fundamentals in printmaking, like registration and things like that. And I've had work thrown out of Facebook groups, from quite big groups of printmaking, because I've found a way of crossing over different media into print. And yes, like I said to a friend of mine, Dex, hello Dex, when I was talking to him about it, it's a compliment really, but it didn't. I just couldn't understand why they'd done it to begin with. And when I spoke to him about it, he was like, well, yeah, they don't. Their preconceptions about what they're calling printing don't match with what you've literally just done to printing, and that's a compliment. But what I'm sort of beating around the bush of saying is that it's very regimental, or it seems to engender a lot of regimental thinking. I frequently use gel plate prints and lino prints, mono prints, and merge them into, with the self-portrait project I did, the Am I Am and Catachresis series that I did of self-portraits, which only over the last 18 months. I used a lot of printmaking in them. But apparently you're not allowed to do that. Print has got to be a purist print, and that's it. Sorry. Dear. It's almost like, Art Nouveau didn't happen for a lot of people. I think it's another one of these things that I find, this is why I shouldn't go off on these tangents of conversation, but it's another one of these things that I find that people, they fall into the cracks of a notion or an ideology about something because of the technique that it supplies them with. And what happens is that the technique ends up being put on a pedestal. And technique is a trap. Not when you're acquiring it. That's when it's beneficial. But the game is to know when you've acquired it and move on. Not to keep on getting everybody to tell you how good you are at this particular technique. And how many artists do we know that play that game? We all do to some extent. You wouldn't be communicating with other people on a visual level without, you just keep it internal. There's some sort of communication that's necessary in it, so you do need to get your technique to a certain level in order to convey sometimes quite specific ideas. You need a certain level of, look at the level of technique that somebody like Rembrandt had. But he didn't stop, did he? He didn't, he let the paint inform what he was doing. He stayed humble to the media rather than what he could do with it. That's probably a better way of putting it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Might well be, but it's something that I think it's Clement Greenberg or it's associates of his, Clement Greenberg and the abstract expressionist movement. I was listening to him. He was quite a renowned member of, they were never really a group anyway, but he was around at that time painting, and him and his wife were both saying technique is a trap, and it is. There's no getting away from it. You can use that to your advantage, once you know of a trap. I'm going to go all Jedi on you here, but once you know of a trap, that's 50% done. You know you're in a trap. You can use that. You have an advantage over 50% of people who won't acknowledge that they're in a trap. This cave allegory stuff. Plato's cave, isn't it? Oh, you're looking at shadows. I digress again. time has come to make some decisions on which ones I'm going to give prevalence to. I mean, this is something that I know I'm going to go back and do later, is I don't have to. I've got 25 portraits of the same person now, planned out in line stage, all to scale. I don't have to lay it out like this. The multivariants that I have available to me in terms of compositionally now with the portrait, I could probably do that again. It's another one of those I could do with I don't know what the Hindu or whatever god it is with the multiple arms is, but now would be the time to visit, because I could put those arms to use. So I'm going to be getting close to the end of the run time now. My battery will be dead. So, obviously this was part 2. So again, if you can, like and subscribe, that'd be brilliant. I'll be back again, definitely to do part 3. I would imagine part 4, maybe even a part 5 with this. But then I think, unless I do something significantly different, I'm not going to keep videoing these. You get the idea, you know, and there's enough points of reference. This is the 4th or 5th one that I've done, where you can see me reworking different types of imagery. I might do one with a landscape, so you can see me doing the landscape, and then that'll be an end of it. Then, like, it's not to they'll still be available to order, but I'm not going to keep on providing you with video evidence. I've got a limited hard drive, just like anybody else has, and you get the idea. The point of the videos is so you can see the sort of man hours that I put into them. So, and I think that's important. And I want you, I want you to be able to, so you can see that I have actually worked on it by hand. It isn't just some print out at all, not by any. None of these are now. I've reworked them quite. Especially these more complex, this one and the Departures in Wonderland. And I'll keep doing it while I think I found quite a handy outlet for a new sketchbook source here. So it has practical. It's not a vanity project to me. Not purely just so I can get sales in. These have actually got. I haven't composed. This is as much part of me working towards the final image of this big project I'm working on, and have been over the last year, as the original of this. It's all really important, as the one downstairs that I'm probably going to use to do a printout of, just so I can see what I can do with the colours before I do the next stage on it, which will be working the colours back in with biro. But I'll do that on the printout first, and just so I can play the mistakes out in a dummy run. That's entirely what this piece was about. Didn't know it when I was doing it at the beginning of it, but definitely by halfway through I was, see one. Well, pretty self-explanatory really. I would rather make the mistakes on a prototype than the thing that I'm spending all the time. I don't get it when people don't do preparatory work. I do not get it. I think abstractions can get taken to too far an extreme with that, to be honest with you. It's difficult to account for visually or verbally or in the formal language what I mean by that. But yeah, I think that if you labour at your prep, you get to see a continuity that you wouldn't have seen by just arbitrary abstract information gathering. You see a structure there that it's unlikely you're going to see it if everything's just arbitrary. Oh, it's unlikely that I'm going to see it. I can't tell you what it's going to do for you, but I can certainly say what. I love abstract work. I'm not a realist painter at all in the slightest. In fact, I am much more akin to abstract painting than I am to realist painting. What is real? I don't even think the people who call themselves hyper, whatever, super realist, ultra realist, whatever, it sounds like a competition to me, which people who go around telling you what reality usually sound like, very competitive, what your reality should be. But I don't know, nobody's hit bedrock on that one yet, so I think you're hyper-representationalists. That's it, at best. I knew there was going to be a lot of hyper so-called realism the minute I clapped eyes on a digital camera. It was obvious. It was going to cascade, and that I was right 20 years later. It's not difficult to work out. I'm sure other people suss that too. What you've got to be careful of is what Hockney talks about, which is what I'm trying to get at with this, is that when you look at everything for a single lens, no matter how much definition you get into that frame that you're pitching things through the single lens of, you're just flattening out time. It's probably not the point to high definition image making, is just to have one lens view of it. Anyway, we're coming to the end now, so there's a couple of minutes left. If you can, like I say, like and subscribe, that'd be brilliant. I think it's developed a little bit. It's going to develop a lot more. It's a lot like or it feels a lot like the Departures in Wonderland one, where it will inform me. I just need to push it to a stage. It hasn't got there yet, but you'll know because I'll shut up. And with that, I shall hopefully I'll see you again later on part 3. Thanks a lot for watching this. Bye.